In a lab dish somewhere in the world, a clump of human brain cells is learning. It can't see, it can't think, it doesn't even have a body. And yet, it's navigating a virtual world and taking down monsters all on its own. Scientists recently taught a human brain to play a video game. Yes, you heard that right. First, they learned Pong. Now, they're raking in new high scores inside one of the most important pillars in video game history, Doom. But from there, they took it a step even further, hooking up the cells to an LLM, an AI chatbot for the first time in history. It sounds like science fiction, but the first artificial minds may already exist, which raises a disturbing question. If a cluster of brain cells can learn to play a game and pick the words that a chatbot spits out, what exactly counts as a mind, and where does it come from? Is all this a medical and tech world breakthrough, or is a cyborg-filled reality getting a little too close for comfort these days? Join me as we unravel all this and much more and enter the Codex Legendarium. I'm Shelby Melanson. Inside a laboratory in Australia, there is a box, and inside it, there is a brain. And this brain is living in a digital simulation. This is no sci-fi horror movie plot with preserved organs inside formaldehyde. No. You see, inside this box is a clump of anywhere from 200 to 800,000 neurons, human brain cells grown on a silicon computer chip. Together, they form a biological neural network, a scaled-down version of a brain, complete with all of its basic functions, known as an organoid. As for this particular brain organoid, its job is to take the place of a standard computer brain. And through it, it's taking on the role of a fictional space marine in one of the most influential old-school video games of all time, Doom. And just in case gaming isn't your style, researchers also just plugged it into an AI chatbot and gave the cells the reins to make decisions. As in, a clump of living human brain cells are now choosing the next letter or word the AI produces. Here's a clip of the digital grid where the brain cells on the chip get stimulated through channels. When that happens, the brain cells send a message right back and literally decide on the next piece of text that the chatbot spits out. Not to mention, according to at least one report that I saw online, during one conversation with this chatbot, the brain cells actually overrode the AI's decision, meaning they forced the bot to choose a different word. And they did it almost 20 times. Okay, so how is any of this possible? Inside the brain box is a fully functional, self-managing life support system. We're talking food delivery, waste collection and management, and temperature control, all to keep the cells alive for at least 6 months. But what's the point if there's no way for the cells to communicate with us? No way for them to control the computer? For that, there's an array of 59 electrodes, allowing two-way communication between the cells and the outside world. And running it all? A software platform called Biological Intelligence Operating System, BIOS. Tech whizzers out there might catch the pun. Designed to create a digital world for the cells to live inside and interact with, that researchers can change by sending code directly inside. All of that is tucked neatly into a white container no larger than your average shoebox, called the CL1. And you can buy one from Australian biotech company Cortical Labs for the low price of just $35,000. Okay, let's get one big horror-esque question out of the way here. Where are they getting the brain cells? No, they're not being harvested from human brains. They're actually cultivated using brain and skin cells donated mostly by members of the research team. That biomaterial gets put through a kind of advanced reprogramming called differentiation to make them act like stem cells, which can then be directed to act as brain cells. Okay, there's that. But there are other big questions. Are these brain cells actually living in a digital simulation, like the movie The Truman Show, where protagonist Truman Burbank unknowingly lives on a giant film set and is the star of a 24/7 reality show? And third, why are scientists doing this? let's start with that last one first. Cortical Labs first made history and headlines back in 2021, when it taught this brain in the box, what it called Dish Brain, to play Atari's 1972 game, Pong. The crazy thing? The cells were able to learn the game, aka to stop the ball from going into the goal using the ping pong paddles on each side, in about 5 minutes. Compare that to AI, or at least the AI that was available at the time, which took a whopping hour and a half to learn the exact same task. According to Cortical Labs, that steep learning gap happens because, thanks to its software, the brain cells believe they are part of the virtual world of Pong. Yeah, you heard that right. And they restructure themselves to become part of that world. Meaning, when they play, they don't think they're controlling the paddles, they think they are the paddles. They learn patterns and demonstrate cognition by actually becoming better at the game with practice, like a person. This is way different from other experiments, like one here on YouTube, where a creator named PointCrow taught his goldfish how to play action RPG video game Elden Ring. Super cool idea, by the way, shout out to him. He and a friend developed software to detect his fish tortellini's movements inside his tank, map them to in-game controls, and then use the data generated by the fish's swimming patterns to play the game. But as cool of a fish as Tortellini must be, he wasn't aware he was playing Elden Ring. And his success in the game more so came from PointCrow decking out his character with high-end gear. But the brain in the box is different. It learns. The AI to brain cells gap gets even bigger when you look at how much power they each use. Which also brings us to the question, why use living neurons over silicon in the first place? A full-size human brain, aka your brain, has 86 billion neurons and runs on about the same amount of energy as just a 20-watt light bulb does, making it the most energy-efficient computer processor in the world. Running an equivalent AI model in silicon would demand about 10 megawatts of electricity, roughly the output of a small nuclear reactor. One of the biggest debates going on in tech right now is focused on the massive amounts of power, energy, and physical space that AI data centers need to keep processing and developing. Now, imagine being able to harness an exponentially smaller, much more energy-efficient processing unit than any of our modern computers could dream of being. And on top of that, biological systems can do something synthetic ones currently cannot. They can adapt. That's why the brain in the box exists. Now, fast forward to today, 2026. DishBrain is getting a major update. From learning to move Pong's paddles in a few minutes, to picking up a digital pixelized weapon, navigating through complex levels, and fighting through hordes of enemies in the span of a week. I hear you. How can a clump of brain cells play a game when they have no eyes to watch the screen? Well, the way it works is similar to the idea of becoming Pong's paddles. Instead of using a controller like a normal player would, the visual feed of the game is directly mapped to the neurons using a pattern of electrical signals. That way, they can actually see when an enemy appears based on where it appears. If a monster spawns on the left side of the clump of cells gets an electric zap. From there, the cell's reaction to that stimulation is sent back to the computer chip and interpreted as motor commands, aka controlling Doom's character. As for how the cells learn to get better, our human brains are hardwired to seek out patterns, and when we find them, it kind of scratches the brain's reward center and makes us happy, just like scoring points in a game, right? So, to train the cells, researchers send nice, orderly patterns of information to the cells when they get something right. When they make a wrong turn, though, they get a message full of disorganized randomness instead of a reward. So, yeah, effectively the scientists train them Pavlov's dog style. Here's the thing. For all the attention this development is getting right now, there's a major part getting left out of the discussion. The game Doom was released back in 1993, 21, almost 22 years after Pong came out. The cells made the knowledge and skill jump from one of those games to the other in just over 4 years. And then don't even get me started on the jump to an LLM, which became a thing in 2017 at the earliest, but more like 2020 for ChatGPT 3. But for now, let's just compare the two games. Now, you can make the case that designing and coding a game is a lot different and more complicated than playing it. However, to play Doom, the player can move forward, backward, left, and right. They can also hold down the Alt key plus the left and right to strafe side to side, or hold down Shift with any of the 4 arrow keys to sprint. Beyond that, hitting the spacebar opens doors and activates switches. Hitting the numbers 1 through 7 works as a weapons selection, and the control key fires the chosen weapon. Even if you ignore strafing and sprinting, that's 2 primary controls in Pong compared to, 7 minimum in Doom? And all of those commands have to be layered on top of intelligently navigating level designs, noticing when an enemy appears, and using the correct command with the correct timing to KO, knock out, that enemy. Now, in fairness, the cells are not super good at the game, definitely less good than a human player. Cortical Labs put it like this, quote, "The cells play a lot like a beginner who's never seen a computer," adding, and in all fairness, they haven't. Even taking that into consideration, the point is, the learning gap is huge, and the progress timeline is staggering. Okay, all this is either unfathomably weird or really cool or something in between. The thing is, this is not actually a new idea. If you go back a few hundred years to the 16th century, medieval Europe, right around the time the Middle Ages were coming to an end, alchemists and philosophers imagined something strikingly similar. Artificially growing a very small but fully formed human being and keeping it within a glass flask to assist with various purposes. It was called the Humunculus, literally translated from Latin as little person. Swiss alchemist and philosopher Paracelsus wrote about it in a series of writings called Of the Nature of Things. His method for creating the homunculus is a bit grotesque, to say the least, so I'm going to spare you the details. But suffice to say, male genetic material was sealed inside a flask, nourished with various mystical alchemical processes and materials, and from there, the blob would grow human skin and come to life. Yes, I know. Other books described various kinds of homunculi, each with a different kind of skill set. Different versions could make the full moon appear, or make it rain. As for the other more out there uses, allowing a person to walk on water, shapeshift, or see and talk to spirits, supposedly. In other words, it was created at least partially for the purpose of doing something, of being used as a tool that could do things beyond the scope of what humans could. Not so different from what scientists are creating artificial intelligence or biological intelligence for today. The thing is, alchemists didn't just believe these mini-human creatures could have intelligence or special abilities. They were also thought to have a soul. Both the Doom-playing cells and the homunculus effectively present the same scenario: growing artificial life and keeping it in a jar. I mean, Cortical Labs literally described the CL1 as a body in a box, and that brings up some really thorny ethical questions. Are they conscious? Do they feel pain? Is keeping this in a glass jar akin to keeping animals in a zoo? Or does the fact that they're living in a simulation, one that they're unaware that they're in probably, change the game entirely? Cortical Labs has said its brain cells are, quote, sentient, which it defines as being responsive to sensory impressions. That said, Chief Scientific Officer Brett Kagan said this in 2023, quote, "We almost view it actually as a kind of different form of life to, let's say, animal or human." Yeah. Research says that organoids do respond to pain-inducing stimuli, but they also say that the lumps of cells don't have the architecture needed to actually experience pain the way we do. So, should they be treated like jellyfish, alive but with no brain or way to feel pain? How about invertebrates? Is there a difference between boiling a lobster and zapping a clump of brain cells to improve its gaming performance? What happens when these organoids get more advanced? Will we one day wake up and decide that rewarding and punishing these organoids in effort to get better training results is okay? Will they ever be developed enough that unpaid labor inside our biological AI chatbots becomes an issue? Like, the rabbit hole goes deep here. Over in the medical field, one main push to develop organoids is to be able to study brain diseases like Alzheimer's in a way that doesn't require invasive study on a living patient. Another is the idea of being able to take skin cells from a patient, grow a copy of that person's organ, and then use it to test the medication on that particular person without risk to the actual person. Scientists say we're very far away from creating something they would consider a complex brain, mostly because the brain has many, many types of neurons with many different functions, much more in depth than just a small clump of one kind of neuron on its own. Cortical Labs has hinted that there are many, many unanswered questions in this vein, but ultimately, quote, "We don't want to create any suffering in a dish." That said, they also just announced early plans for 2 data centers that they plan to house these brain cell chips in, which to me kind of brings up some uncomfortable, very Matrixy-like scenarios, but I digress. In my view, this entire discussion and ethical debate boils down to 2 main things: the risk of making a living thing suffer, and whether something that's created, not born, has a soul or sentience. And if yes, at what point of development does it get that? Inside the CL1, there is a cluster of neurons. No brain, no body, learning to interact with the digital world. Only one thing is for certain here. We have entered the age of science fiction, and the line between cells, brains, and minds might be far blurrier than we ever imagined. But what do you think? Where does intelligence begin? Is the world's first brain in the box really the springboard for an entirely new kind of artificial intelligence? And exactly how far should we push the envelope? Or have we already gone too far? I would love to hear your thoughts about this in the comments, and if you have an idea for something you'd like to see a future episode on, let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive into mysteries, myths, culture, and science, please take a second to like and share this video, and if you want to see more, subscribe. I upload every Tuesday. It really, really helps get the word out there. Until next time, stay curious. Thank you.